Uncle B, national champion quarterback at BYU, and our dual threat analyst is back with us on a Friday in person. And I said this morning, it's so nice to have you weekly in person, Blaine.
Yeah, so nice.
Yeah, usually I just had to be close to you guys through social media.
Yeah.
Snapchat, Instagram,
Pinterest.
do all of Pinterest.
Pinterest, all that.
But now that I live down here, I can actually be actively involved in your lives as a true uncle should.
Oh my gosh, it's been such a blessing. Your influence as a older, mature, man has really affected and impacted my life.
I still call it the Facebook, because that's what it originally was. And I don't do the Facebook yet, but I do Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't
tweet enough, but I
It's okay. At least you have an account. That's the first step.
Yeah, and I do. Once in a while I tweet it out.
Hey, I saw you got a birdie via the Twitter machine the other day.
No, I got a double eagle.
A double eagle. Yeah, not a birdie.
An albatross,
a double,
like a double
eagle.
Yeah, I hit a 200-yard. It was par 5, and I hit a 300-yard drive, and then I hit a 200-yard 5-iron into a blind green, and I had just said to my brother-in-law right before, if I don't birdie these last 3 holes, I'm selling my clubs on and I'm never playing the game again. And then we walk up there, and I'm like, "Where's my ball? I thought I hit it right at the flag, but we could only see the top of the flag." My brother-in-law grabs my arm. There's a fresh ball marked 3 feet in front of the hole. So we walk over, I look in. Then I ran around like an idiot. I did grass angels on the green.
You didn't need to birdie the last 3 holes because you picked up 3 strokes right there.
Immediately, my clubs came off the market, and I loved the game of golf all over.
It's the greatest salesman ever. And the
crazy.
Craziest girlfriend of a game ever.
Oh, I love her and I hate her.
That's fantastic stuff. And you got to share that with the world.
Yeah,
Twitter.
my sons tweeted it out because they were playing with us, and then so that's just right. You can share cool things in your life. You
can do whatever you want.
It's time for us to put something else out on the Twitter machine via Blaine Fowler, and that is your answer to today's Twitter question. If you could schedule any Power 5 team, maybe it's Arkansas, maybe it's Tennessee or Clemson or Florida that we've discussed, to a home and home, who would it be and why?
And see, I want more than just a home and home. I want a long-standing series, which I thought we had with my choice, and I want Notre Dame.
Okay, so you don't want just 2 games and done.
No, I want a home and home series. Now I know I'd even take a 2-for-1 long term with Notre Dame, where we play them twice back there and once here, or once there, once here, and once in a neutral site.
Just consistent.
Play them at Soldier Field, whatever they want to do. I want a consistent, independent, the 2 top independent programs in the country. And Notre Dame has an arrangement with the ACC where they play a specified number of games, but they're independent. And they're the 2 best independent programs in the country. They should play every year. And Notre Dame has natural rivalries with Michigan and Michigan State and USC, and lately Stanford.
Yeah.
Why can't BYU play into that mix? And
they used to play Purdue and
yeah, come on, play BYU every single solitary year, and you look at their resume. Come on. I mean, it's a fantastic program. They're good. The last several years they've been good, but 11 national titles, 7 Heisman Trophy winners, the most consensus All-Americans of any program. Yep. I mean, it is a storied program, and I love the way they treat visiting fans. You're not going to find a classier place to go play away games. That's the only program in the country I would support doing a 2-for-1 with. Because of the way they treat opposing fans, and because of how great and historic a trip that is for our fans, I would do it in a heartbeat. And we kind of did that, and we were supposed to have this long-standing series, and things kind of haven't really followed through. I'd love to see that get back on track and play Notre Dame every year. And if we can't do that, then let's go schedule Stanford every year.
I'm all about experiences, and the Notre Dame experience is one that every college football fan should have in their lifetime.
So I grew up not liking Notre Dame at all. I'm from New York, and I had Pittsburgh and Penn State who were really good back then, and it seemed like Notre Dame was on TV every week, and I was going, why? They're not that good. Until the first time I went there, I was doing a game for NBC back there, and it could just completely change my mind. The way we were treated and the fans and how smart they were and how welcoming they were. I mean, this place is just class through and through. And I just thought, oh, okay, I just changed my mind. I'm going to root for this team. And then BYU started to play them, and I've been part of those and been on those trips. And I just think, you know what, why was I a Notre Dame hater? This is a great institution with high standards academically. That's a very good football program and one of the most storied programs in the country. Why not BYU? It's a great fit. And the reason I say Notre Dame 1 and Stanford 2 for me, and no offense to you guys like choosing Clemson and these Southeast Conference schools, those Notre Dame and Stanford are built a lot like BYU and who they recruit. They have to have high caliber academic athletes.
Yep.
They have a defensive mentality, so they get big folks up front that want to maul you. I think BYU with Kalani as the head coach is going to be able to match up year after year with big physical teams and play them toe to toe. I don't know if BYU's ever going to be able to match up with the speed of Clemson. So I would rather have.
It'd be fun to watch,
Yeah,
though, right?
It would be fun. But I would
watch.
rather have matchups against teams that are built the same way BYU is. Stanford doesn't blow out a lot of schools, and Notre Dame doesn't.
No, Stanford
And
overpowers
so they
you.
win. They win, but they don't blow. So you go and you lose at Stanford, or you go and you lose at Notre Dame. You don't lose by 35. You know, you lose close, and then they let you stay in games. And so if you've got kind of a special team on a special year, you put up enough points, you go and you beat those schools.
You always have an opportunity
I
to
just
win.
think they have an opportunity to play toe-to-toe with those schools, and both of those schools have tremendous records. And you know what? It's hard to travel back to the East Coast and be ready to go. So Notre Dame's just in the Midwest. That's kind of a long trip. Stanford's right here. So if we're going regionally for a close place to play every year, then I would choose Stanford.
So let's say that you are in Tom Homo's shoes, and you have the ability to schedule anyone and everyone. What are you going to look for, in addition to some of the things that you gave us, to scheduling a Power 5 opponent?
So you want exposure. So you want to play teams that whether you win or lose, people go, oh, wow, they had Notre Dame on their schedule. And the ones that you talked about fit that bill. Oh, they played Clemson. Oh, they played Florida. Oh, everyone that has been mentioned via Twitter that people, those are all give you that. They give you exposure. So you want high exposure teams. But I think you also want to look for matchups. I think Tom wants to look and say, okay, what programs are we built to go compete with toe-to-toe? And that's why I say Notre Dame and Stanford. And then I think you want to get as many regionally as you can so fans have an easy time traveling on the road, and there's regional interest. It's just funny. Like, if I go back home to New York, when Utah was really good that one year and playing the Sugar Bowl, everybody back in New York was like, I haven't really followed them this year. They don't really care. Outside of USC and Oregon, because they're so flashy, the teams nobody really follows national programs. BYU is an exception to the rule. That's why I thought the Big 12 would look at BYU and say, hey, let's gobble them up. There's very few national programs. Notre Dame, USC, maybe Alabama right now, that if you're just flicking through the channels, you watch them.
Ohio State.
Yeah. So why not stay regionally where you're relevant and the team you're playing is relevant and make travel a little easier?
So with the exposure, I think that Boise is a perfect example of this, playing on Thursday and Friday nights. Even when I was a player, I knew on Friday night in the hotel, getting ready for the game, we were going to watch a Boise State game. And so you just had this national brand. Everybody knew about them. With BYU having a similar TV schedule, can you afford to play a lesser team, a team that is not like a Florida or has the brand, and still be able to get the W, but you have the exposure because of the TV, right?
There's here's the problem when you're scheduling and you think, hey, because you schedule so far in advance. Now, once in a while, Arkansas comes and says, hey, we got an opening 2 years from now. Can you do it?
By the way, do you think that could happen? Do you legitimately think that could happen?
I would think Tom would make a call.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that can happen, if they can work that out.
And a tweet on that. Yeah.
Certainly, the fact that they have an opening, when you're an independent, you're looking for anything that you can find. But you want to schedule teams too, because you don't want to. This schedule this next year is a little bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
So. And one of the reasons I love Notre Dame is because Notre Dame's independent. They could schedule BYU in November if they wanted to.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So now you don't have to front end your schedule.
Relevant late season
Right. So
games.
relevant late season, that's hard against other than Notre Dame. That's why they're my number. That's another reason they're my number one. But you also want to fill in some of the schedule with mid-level to lower tier P5 schools, names that people recognize but maybe aren't so intimidating to go play. So, I mean, who are we talking about there?
Washington State?
Yeah. Do you go
Oregon
All the
State,
Washington States.
Cal.
See, if you would have scheduled Washington State normally 4 or 5 years in advance, you schedule Washington State 5 years ago, they're scary as heck right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
With
a
Luke
great
Falk throwing the
quarterback.
ball all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part.
Well, we
is you-
beat them, 2011, right?
2012.
2012,
Right.
they came up. Yeah.
When you schedule these teams 4 or 5 years in advance, sometimes you don't know that a team that is typically middle of the pack to lower pack in a P5 conference they're really good
You're
that year.
rolling the dice.
Or a really good program that you're scheduling going, wow, we're really going to step it up this year, and we're going to play Nebraska.
Yeah.
And then they're just average.
Yep.
That year, or in a rebuilding year or whatever. So you just don't know. With BYU being independent, I mean, you take anybody that'll play you later in the season. That's a name, right? And that's hard to do because they're in conference play. Not very many schools want to step out of conference play and do that. For special reasons, Stanford, for instance, always plays Notre Dame late in the season. But Notre Dame's who's asking. Notre Dame's saying, hey, we want to play you, but we need a game in November. And Stanford goes, we'll step out of our schedule in November to play.
Because they can. They have that flexibility.
If you'll come to our place, and we'll do that. So they have the flexibility to do that. So those are the kinds of things you want to look for if you can. First priority would be name schools that'll play you late in the season. I really high prioritize that. And then you're going to look at matchups that you think over time you can stand toe-to-toe with those guys. I don't know that we want to go play a bunch of SEC teams right now and try to match up with them speed-wise.
So another pick that I thought initially, and it was more strategic, was Oregon. And the reason why is because I think that BYU makes a lot of sense playing in the Pac-12. Utah's already there. They've already shown that they can compete the last 10, 15 years. They're proven. And Oregon is a brand name, nationally. You look at the other two schools, SC and UCLA, and those are scheduled. We've played them and competed really well.
And Oregon's on the schedule in 2022.
Yeah. But I think that starting to play more of the Pac-12 schools will kind of show maybe the Pac-12, hey, we belong. Hey, look at me. That was kind of my perspective there. Do you think it makes sense if BYU is trying to get into the Big 12 to maybe schedule more along those lines?
Well, I like we talked regional as one of my priorities, so it makes it easy for the fans to get to an away game. So Oregon fits into that. Yeah. You know what? I don't have a problem. We're going to go hang. If BYU goes 3-0, we're going to go hang a Pac-12 South Championship banner in the stadium as soon as they go 12.
By the way, David Nixon has already said multiple times and backed it up that he is calling a 3-0
start. A 3-0 start. So if they're 3-0, I think BYU has the right to put a Pac-12 South banner up. Yeah. So what's going to happen? You talk about should they try to schedule more Big 12 to prove to the Big 12 that they belong? I don't know if you go beat up Texas too many times. They're already the biggest opponent to BYU being in the conference. You keep beating them up. They're really not going to want you in there. Nope. But I do think it shows that you belong, that you can compete on their level. At some point, the last days of college football are going to come. We're looking forward to the last days, right?
In times, yeah.
When there is 16-team conferences and we have a national playoff.
Mega conferences.
I don't know how long in the future that is, but you would think that at some point television is going to force the hand and make that happen. Then the Pac-12 has to expand. Yeah. And so it doesn't hurt to play these Pac-12 schools to show that you fit in there. You fit in there. So.
Blaine Fowler with us on BYU Sports Nation in Studio B, talking scheduling for BYU football. We haven't had a chance to sit down and talk on this show about specifics of what you witnessed from your perspective 8 days ago on BYU football's Media Day. If you had to write a headline from that Media Day, or maybe your number one takeaway, what did you get from BYU football Media Day?
So you don't get anything X's and O's or personnel or any of that on Media Day. But what you do is you get a general feel for the tone of the program. So I walked away from spending the whole day with coaches and players with this really heightened sense of engagement and excitement about the coming season, which is a great thing. With that excitement, you get players in the offseason working out just a little bit harder.
Oh, yeah.
You get guys thinking, wait a minute, we all have to prove ourselves all over again. Nobody's got a spot. We need to go out and we need to grind on every single play all summer long with the strength and conditioning coaches because they're reporting back. Mm-hmm. So I get a genuine sense of excitement, especially from the players, about the new feel to the program. And then behind the scenes, I'm talking to coaches about strategy and all those kinds of things. So I'm really excited to see how this all rolls out when fall comes, because the offense is a completely different philosophy, and the defense is they went 180s from what was being done here. And I think what they're going to do fits the personnel. On offense, they're asking a lot more reads out of the quarterback. The offense may be a little more complicated than what they've been. It's not just about fast and going really fast and pace. It's about execution. So it's a little more complicated. They're asking those guys to think more. The defense is way less complicated. Yep. They're asking to be reactive and to be able to run and play free and get to the football. I think it suits BYU's personnel really, really well to do that. The kinds of players they have on both sides of the ball, I think it fits. So let's see. If they win the Pac-12 South, we know that we're right. We know that we're right.
If BYU beats Arizona, Utah, and UCLA in consecutive weeks, they need to be in the conversation as the Pac-12 South champions.
That's right.
And they will be ranked very high at that point. If they start 3-0, they'll be ranked
Love
highly.
you, David
100%.
Nixon. Love David Nixon wearing the blue goggles, man.
David.
He had these on when he was
So
making
Dave's
that
already
prediction.
gone out and said yes. They're
3-0.
He said yes. Yep.
Wow.
He said he thinks they're going to beat up on the Pac-12 teams to start the season.
All right.
We shall
will
see.
see, yes.
Blaine, great to talk to you, man.
Glad to be here.